We are often conditioned to think that music is made up of notes and drawings are made up of lines and colors only. However, this closed perspective somehow closes the door for us to understand the other side of these elements, the negative, or the lack thereof. You see, music is not only a product of noise, but also of silence. The same way with lines and colors, we have an empty space. If there was any recent piece of art that literally gave light to these negatives, that would be The Red Turtle by Michael Dudok. Not only did it play around noise and silence, but it also used space almost consistently throughout the film. I think I must clarify that when I meant that space is the other side of content-filled elements, it does not mean that space is totally nothing. Although space or spacious elements have relatively low detail in them, they still have the ability to convey a message, something that lines and details essentially do. The Red Turtle is a perfect example of this, as the film was able to apply the concept of space in its temporal, musical, and most importantly, visual dimensions. In a temporal manner, the concept of space is given by moments like this. It's also quite the same with music. Visually, however, space is a little bit more obvious, as quite literally, the perspective is often taken from afar, which leaves us an ample room for our characters to move around. At first, space is used to show the scale of a threat. The visual choice of spacing out allows us to see more of the waves than of the man. As a result, it appeared that the waves are overpowering the man by stealing more visual property than what we expect a protagonist should have. By only getting a tiny glimpse of the protagonist, we are forced to look at the waves themselves. Waves that cannot even be captured in the frame as much as it can capture the man. This suggests that even with a great distance, the threat appears to be greater. However, as things went calmer, it became apparent that the spacious illustrations no longer refers to an active threat, but rather to a more passive one: loneliness. With such a great distance from the viewer to the protagonist, the main character appeared small and therefore vulnerable to the island. It was as if that even with such a big space, the character is still alone. Therefore, he refuses to stay on the island, trying hard to leave due to the anxiety given by this huge emptiness. But then the story takes on another shift. When he finally came into acceptance of the negative space around him, although trapped, the space became a net for opportunities, an opportunity to love, to live, and be happy. And it is here at this point that space finally took its final shape. Space as an image of peaceful freedom. To understand how this could all be possible, it is important to understand the Japanese concept of ma. Ma roughly translates to negative space or emptiness. However, its English translation is not enough to explain the whole context of ma as a Japanese value. The Japanese apply the concept of ma to their everyday lives. That includes architecture, art, and even with the way of speaking. Ma, however, doesn't mean nothing. Instead, space is referred to as the distance between people. Therefore, space is the relationship between people, between things, and to other things. It may be possible that the concept of ma is related to Shintoism, a traditional belief that admires the harmonious relationship of everything on Earth. That is why when the relationship of the man and the turtle is first presented, we are left with nothing but a vast ocean, suggesting the great distance between them. Space as a concept of Ma played a huge role in the development of the character, and that simply starts when the man started creating, quite literally, a safer space for the turtle. It is this sacrifice that the man worked for and that made her leave what her familiar space quite looked like. In a relationship, it is not uncommon for partners to give out something that they have or something they have within their space. For her, it was her shell. For him, it was his shirt. What used to be a vast ocean now turned out to be a field of opportunity for love. At this point, Ma gets a clearer picture of its meaning. No longer do we see the space as a void to be filled with something else, but space as the very thing itself. It is now an entity. It is now a complete part of art or of life. Space is not where things are done, but it is the very thing that must be done. As that comes by, it is surprising how the apparent lack of people or lack of life do not bother us no more as viewers. We no longer try to swim hard for our life or desperately escape. Instead, we accept the inability to move, to walk, to talk, and embrace the vast space that has surrounded the man in his death. This will not be possible without the transformation of the meaning of space. From tragic death to loneliness to love, happiness, and family, space has transformed from emptiness to an entity of life. He was able to create meaning for this empty space, a living space that is now made of a shell for a red turtle who is to unite, once again, to the ocean who once took everything from him.